basically you have three kinds of impacts. One is that when you have a lockdown, then you're preventing people from working. And then when you don't have a lockdown, those people can work, but there is a demand constraint now. Our view is slightly different from that of the federal government and of the World Bank. Our understanding is that people at the bottom will not remain unemployed for very long because we don't have an unemployment benefit system in Pakistan. So people will be underemployed and their purchasing power will decline. This is what will happen. Where you will see unemployment is you will see temporary unemployment amongst people who get laid off from manufacturing, and you will see unemployment amongst educated youth who will have to now wait much longer before they get jobs. The reason you won't have a lot of unemployment amongst the casual workers and the daily wagers and so on is because they cannot afford to be unemployed. So a lot of workers will not return to Karachi. A lot of workers will return home from Karachi. They will go back to the rural areas. They will take up lower paid work in farming, which they had left, lower paid work in rural markets. So those workers, they will go back. The workers who live in Karachi who don't have this option, their real wages will decline. Right? So all of this is going to happen. What the government can do is very little, simply because of the resource constraint. The order of magnitude that we can think of is what federal government has already spent in Sindh. In Sindh, they've already spent 25 billion rupees on the BISP Ehsaas. What we are doing is that we are coming to a view in government, and hopefully it will be reflected in the coming budget, that we should not initiate any new public investments in areas other than health, no new ADP schemes, and on the concurrent side, there are lots of commitments that the government has it can't get out of, like salaries and pensions and some basic operational expenses. But beyond that, whatever we have, our resource envelope is going to be dedicated to COVID containment, that we can fix the economy. It will take us 6 months, it might take us a year, it might take us 2 years, we can fix the economy. People die, we're not going to fix that. Those families which are going to be devastated, we're not going to fix that. Right? So this is our priority. And so hence the decision, and hopefully it will be reflected in the budget, that this is how we are going to frame the problem. We are very hopeful that if the government of Pakistan gets relief on the debt front, it gets help from outside, that will be reflected in transfers that happen through the NFC. So we know that the measures we will need to take again, we are basically seeing that we probably have to have 2 lockdowns, 2 general lockdowns in the coming fiscal year. This is what we're planning for, right? And lots of local lockdowns. So we're basically planning for that. We are trying to keep resources for social protection for that. We know that the federal government has a lot of resources for social protection, but we cannot rely on them. So in the interim, what we have done is we are trying to construct our own social registry. Punjab has already done it. Punjab has its own social protection authority. Punjab had the same experience as us. They've actually articulated that in the COVID strategy, that that document called RISE. So that chapter on social protection is word for word something we can completely endorse. This has exactly been our experience. What we got actually. So we got very far in terms of getting some difficult policy decisions, but we had to stop because we didn't have the money. So back in March, we almost had a system in place to direct assistance on the basis of geographical targeting. And I know for a fact that that's what our colleagues in Punjab were also wanting to do. Now we feel confident that we will actually direct it so that policy decision that we took, that we will have geographical targeting, I think we will be able to execute that. At the moment, there's a very serious problem with respect to testing. So to do any of what you have said, you have to test. You have to test in advance of people dying. So at the moment, the problem we are facing, the problem all of us are facing in Pakistan, the problem that everybody is facing around the globe, is that people don't want to come forward to be tested. People have learned the consequences of being tested. So the consequences of being tested now are that whether you tested privately or you tested through the government system, you become part of a database if you test positive. It becomes mandatory virtually for all of your family members and everybody else to be tested. It becomes kind of mandatory for you to be self-isolated or quarantined. So what we're observing now is a tendency for people to hesitate to be tested. So that actually puts a huge, not that we've solved the supply side problem of testing, right? So although testing capacity is increased, we haven't solved the supply side problem. But actually, in terms of doing localized solutions, the testing instrument has become very blunt. People come to hospitals for treatment, then they're completely desperate. They're in the final stage. They get tested, they come, they either recover or they die. Had they come earlier, they might have been saved. We then test, we then contact tracing their families and their neighbors and their workmates. That's not a very good way of testing if you wanted to anticipate where the virus is going to turn up, anticipate where there are going to be hotspots, because basically once you have lots of people coming to hospital from a particular area and dying, it is already a hotspot. There's a big constraint on law enforcement. Law enforcement capacity to do anything smart is very limited. So I think a lot of these solutions which seemed all right on paper, I don't think they actually took one important constraint into consideration, which was that of enforcement. So obviously you would like businesses to survive. There is still room for startups. Right? So technology enabled, these young people who will be unemployed, they're educated. Maybe with a little bit of support, they can start doing things, the use of technology. Obviously, I don't think that the Sindh government or any provincial government can massively ensure a survival of businesses. A lot of these things are not within the mandate of the provincial government. The provincial government doesn't control the state bank. A lot of these are regulatory things. A lot of these things have to do with our monetary policies and interest rates and so on, about directed credit. So the provincial government can't do all that much. But we will be talking about these. We will be talking about survival, revival, and startup. Our hope is that within this fiscal year, we have a vaccine, the WHO says it is finished, and we can put an end to it, right? But we cannot count on that. We will not continue that. Our budget will be presented in the middle of June. So hopefully we will have this document also, some version of it by then.
Okay. It would be great to read it.
I'm not sure how things will turn out, but I'm hoping that there will be some correspondence between that framing and what we will see in the budget.